Hello and welcome to AIL TV, and you are watching, of course, AIL TV. Tonight we had two sessions. One was totally a different thing to do with Al Qaeda, ISIS, but tonight this is a special edition. As many of you have noticed that there are so many events that are happening in Africa, but this one came unexpectedly. And we are talking about Mali. As always, I'm not going to be the one presenting. You're gonna be watching David Otto and his guests, who are very, very, very conversant in these kind of matters. So, David, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Joseph Otieno. Once more, I want to thank Africans in London Television for hosting this platform. We had a very interesting session prior to this, which was looking at the ideology of the Islamic State. We went down. We had our expert Hussein Meyer and Hanif Kadif to break it down for us, and we promised you that we would be looking at Mali. Of course, the situation in Africa, as a whole, in regards to security is a big issue. But specifically, there has been an incident which is ongoing that happened in Mali. Of course, Mali is a country that is in West Africa. Some people believe that it is at the center of Africa, but it just depends on how you want to look at it. One of the Sahelian states placed in the Triangle de Liptako-Goma region, which has Mali, of course, Burkina Faso, and Niger Republic. Niger Republic, is very much to the Central Africa region, which has Cameroon and other countries, but also very much attached, in terms of borders to the Western African region, where you've got Nigeria. So these are all, I call them one region, but for reasons of colonial division, you've got them being divided by very porous borders. But so focusing on Mali today, I think this is a great area to have this discussion for this special edition, looking at what has happened. Now, I'll just give a summary of what took place. There has been a coup d'etat whereby the junta military government, which calls itself the CNSP, which is the National Committee for the Salvation of the People. They have actually overthrown, arrested the former president, I'll call it because he's resigned, Abubakar Keita Ibrahim. They call him locally IBK. There were protests which have been going on in Mali. The African Union has been, ECOWAS has been involved. The European Union has been involved. France has been involved, but there was no solution. And that is why I put it very plainly in one of my tweets that there were three outcomes, that would have happened in Mali, which I think my guests will want to consider. One of which is, what was the situation before the coup, and what was being done as a solution to resolve the protest. What if the military left the protest the way it was? What would have happened? What solutions would have come up? Now, the second scenario is a scenario whereby we are experiencing today that the military has now taken upon itself to take power, from the president. What is going to happen after that? Because, of course, there is one thing with organizing a coup, and there is one thing with, trying to, provide the underlying causes where you give a justification of the coup. So is this junta going to be able to give some answers to the Malians as to what the solution would be? Now, the other option would have been for the military to side with the government and perhaps crack down on the protest by the people that were protesting in the streets. Now, also, what would that have led to? what would have been the impact of that. So, I think, when I'll be talking to my guest, we would have some of these questions that you've sent regarding what options that the Malians had, what options that the military had, and do we really need a coup in the 21st century in Africa? Do we need a coup at this time? But most importantly, what lessons can be learned, and how can this be turned into a scenario where you have democracy, taking over from a military coup, or are we going to see a repeat of Sudan, whereby the military would say they would give power to a civilian government, but it doesn't happen? So these are some of the questions that I'm going to be asking my guests. They will be giving you their opinions as to what they think about the scenario. I just want to remind the audience that as we speak, Mali is under a state of emergency. There is a curfew that has been given from 5 a.m. in the morning to 9 p.m. And we've seen that there is a new colonel, Assini Koita, who is in charge of the CNSP. That is the military government that is in charge of the situation now. We do not know the state of the president, because last week we're told that he was under arrest and he had been taken to one of the military camps in a region given as Kita, which is about 15 kilometers away from Bamako. Bamako is the capital of Mali. So at the moment, the military is in charge. We don't have a civilian state in Mali. Now, I want to stress that Mali is a country that has been experiencing since 2012. You had another coup then. And then also you've got jihadist organizations like the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. They are present there heavily. You've got a political movement which seems to lean towards the religious aspect, where some of these ideas are being brought by some of these groups. So let's talk about these issues. Gentlemen, ladies, tonight I have with me Dr. Manilu Kunze, who is a lecturer at Aberdeen University. He's a prolific African security analyst. I'll have him give you his views. I've also got with me counterterrorism and a security analyst, but also a certified anti-terrorism specialist, Mr. Alex Akoman. I've also got with me here today a certified anti-terrorism specialist and an African analyst, Mr. Sadu Nana. So, gentlemen, I want to welcome all of you to this program. But let me start with Dr. Manilu Kunze. Do we need a coup in Mali? Was this a matter of the one way out, or was there another way out from your understanding of the situation?
Okay, I would say that we do not need any coups in Africa, but sometimes it's difficult to see any other way out. So you have to understand that, as you mentioned while you were giving the background, that there are specific issues in Mali that led to a coup in 2012 for the same reasons. And today we have a president who was elected specifically to solve those problems that you've rightly mentioned, who after 7 years has demonstrably failed to solve those problems. And then the people got in the streets and say, look, you came to power to do these specific things. Poverty is increasing, corruption is increasing, security is getting worse. You haven't done what you were elected to do, so step down. And the president, Mr. Keita, refused to step down. And I would say, yes, we do not want coups. Yes, we do not want the army taking over. But when you fail to do what you've been elected to do, the people who elected you come out of the street and say, step down. What then do you, and you refuse, what choice is left? So I hear the African Union and all of these other organizations saying, oh, constitution, constitution, constitution. Yes, but the constitution of Mali doesn't prevent the president from resigning. If people say resign, resign. Why are we holding Africans at a higher standard than other parts of the world? If a massive crowd had descended on London and asked for the British Prime Minister to resign, he would find it very difficult to hang on to power. Same in America. If you have massive crowds demanding the resignation of the American president, he would find it very difficult to hang on to power. So why are we holding Africans at a higher standard than we are holding everybody else? The people came out and asked for him to resign, so he should have. So anyway, this is my view.
Thank you. Let me come to Mr. Alex Akuman. The people came to the streets and requested for the president to resign based on the failed promises that, according to the people that voted him, he couldn't have been able to, he wasn't able to deal with these issues, especially the situation of insecurity in the northern part, but of course also economic issues which directly impact on the daily lives of the people. Now, there has been a military coup d'etat. Do you agree that, the African Union and the ECOWAS, I mean, we don't know what discussions they had with both parties. Do you see them as having failed, again, to prevent a coup d'etat? Or do you think, the coup d'etat was too quick? It would have given more chance to the ECOWAS?
Well, thank you very much, David. And also, I would like to greet all the panelists who are discussing tonight with me. We have in Mali an issue which has been on for a few years, especially after the overthrow of Gaddafi. The jihadists went to Mali, and the Azawad wanted to create their own state in the northern part of Mali. So the government has been trying since 2013. Mr. Keita came to power, and as time goes by, it has gone worse. As just mentioned by my previous comrade,
Yes,
Jim,
Dr. Kuze, yes.
yeah, in terms of security, the country is in a dire situation where the northern part, even up to the middle, to the center of the country, is not under the control of the government base in Bamako in the south. There are a lot of killings between tribes and communities. Schools have been closed for some times. And poverty, obviously, when there's no security for people to carry on with their business, things get tougher. As a result, the people of the country, I mean, we've seen students, we've seen workers, we've seen women came out asking the president, because here it's about accountability. Yes, he's been elected and re-elected in 2018, but what has it been able to deliver? That's the key questions. And if you look at his first mandate and then now the second mandate, he has unfortunately failed. And facing that situation, what the military can do. And I think military sometimes they have a responsibility to ensure that the country is safe. And I think they take the responsibility to take action to ensure that, first of all, they secure the country, and gradually they will then address the issue facing the population. And this is my third debate on Mali. We had two previous debates in 2018 with another channels. And I think that the military have given enough time to the authority to solve the problem. We have French military based in Mali with over international forces. But unfortunately, the situation hasn't improved. And as such, should the military just stay and watch the country being not run, basically, because Mr. Ibeka wasn't really in charge because he couldn't control the country, and these rebels in the north and also the international community military were in charge of the rest of the country. So the military, obviously, some people can complain that military don't always are not good examples. But in this case of Mali, when the government has failed, what the military should do. And I think based on the fact on the ground, with the fact that the life in Mali is getting more and more difficult, poverty is expanding, there's no security, economically the country is collapsing. So the military has to take action to ensure that these issues are addressed. And I would like just to
So let me hold you there. These issues are addressed. You know, they need to take action. Let me come to Salinana. You know, we had a similar scenario in 2012 when the military took over. Last night, the CNSP, which stands for the National Committee for the Salvation of the People of Mali, they appointed a new leader, and that new leader made it very clear that they have no intention of holding on to power. He said they have no intention of arresting people that have not been found guilty of corruption. Do you believe them? And Malians believe them from what they're saying?
Thank you very much, David, for having me, and also evening to all the panelists and also our viewers. It will be difficult for Malians or anyone else to believe the military, because this is not the first time this has happened. We've been here before. There's a military coup in 1968 when the first president was overthrown, Modibo Keita, and also in 1991 when Amadou Toumani Touré took over, and then we had another coup, and this is not the first time. And each time there has been a coup and a semblance of democracy, there has actually been a degradation of democracy throughout that period. Because obviously Ibrahim Boubacar Keita has not succeeded to resolve the problem in northern Mali, the ethno-religious problems within central Mali, the economy, and all the issues that the previous speaker has listed. But the thing is that coup d'etats in the past haven't also solved the problems of Mali. And also we saw from promises that people have made before, whether it is in Burkina Faso, whether it is in Egypt or in Sudan, the military makes these promises, but as soon as they get into power, they try to hang on to power. The other thing is that the civil society and the coalition that is protesting on the street is of the opinion that they were not consulted and they were not part of this method of removing the president. Yes, they wanted him to resign, and they wanted him to his government to resign, but they did not participate or were consulted. And now they're being asked to jointly form a government of national unity. So I'm not sure that Malians or anyone else can trust it. It is understandable that people felt very frustrated and there was little option, and many Malians are very happy just for the simple reason that Ibrahim Boubacar Keita and his government have been removed. There are several reasons, including corruption, including the excesses of his son, for example, being seen in a lavish, yacht kind of lifestyle during an extreme economic crisis within the country and various crises. So there has been very different things that have made the rule of Ibrahim Boubacar Keita untenable. But however, the method of removing him is not new in Mali. There's also difficulties in actually establishing democracy in Mali because of the cultural issues within Mali. Because the culture of the so-called cousinage, which is the culture of consensus, is hostile to political parties. So it's actually hostile to the Western democracy that the people wanting to replace Boubacar Keita actually say they want to restore. But in reality, the majority of Malians believe that political parties are divisive, and therefore they want to resolve things by consensus, but that consensus ends up messing up things and weakening the institutional development of democracy. So political parties are weakened, institutions are weakened, and some kind of ad hoc way of resolving issues is given priority, but it doesn't solve the problems. So I think that for me, I will not trust the military.
Yep.
And the Malians, I don't think a number of Malians will not trust the military. Of course, a large number are happy that the military has removed the IBK regime, but they'll be very suspicious, including the alliance that has been organizing the demonstrations on the streets.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Manu. Let me come to you. What Sally Nana is saying is very clear. That in as much as there's a visible jubilation from the population, people are happy that President IBK Ibrahim Boubacar Keita is out of power. Removing him from power is one challenge, which seems to be to have been a glorious one, in the sense that we didn't hear about any violence, nobody has been killed, so maybe some I don't know, but it seems to be a glorious revolution. Now, the next challenge is consolidating that power and making sure that there is a seamless transition of power. Now, we've heard from the African Union. The African Union has condemned the coup as expected. The ECOWAS has condemned the coup as expected. The United Nations has done the same. All other countries have done the same. I don't see. Do you see a reversal of this coup? And if you don't see a reversal of this coup, where do you see the biggest challenge now in terms of support? Because the new junta needs support from Malians. And Sally Nana says Malians will not trust them. They need support from the regional states. ECOWAS doesn't seem to trust them. They need support from the international community. The international community is condemning the coup. Where are we with this?
Okay, so what I would like to say is, let's not get too much confused or bogged down in debate. The thing is, the people went out to the streets to protest for specific reasons. Before this coup d'etat, we were all talking about the reasons that took the Malians to the streets.
Yeah.
Today, those reasons haven't changed. So whatever government that you have in Mali have to resolve these issues, right? So there is no getting away from that. Now, it's very clear that when the Malians were complaining before this coup, they were also complaining about the military. Extrajudiciary killings by the military and corruption by the military were part of the reasons why Malians were protesting. So the Malians are not deluded about the fact that the military won't be able to solve their problems. They're fully aware, because the military was part of Keita's government. Don't get that confused. So when people are saying that, oh, Malians are putting their faith in the military, they're celebrating, no, the Malians have been very, very clear about this. They accuse the military of so many atrocities. So they know that what I'm trying to explain to people to understand is that the Malians are celebrating the back of Keita, not the coming of the army. The army will not be able, I think they'll find it really difficult, very, very difficult, if they try to overstay their welcome. As you've already rightly said, Malians, and as Mr. Nana said earlier, Malians will rise up against the army if they try to impose themselves on the Malians. The point is, where the problem is that everybody is talking about the constitution and say, oh, the constitution, but they're not listening. What the Malians are doing, they're sending a signal. They're simply saying, look, we are fed up. What ECOWAS is saying, we do not agree. What Keita is saying, we do not agree. What France is saying, we do not agree. Look at, here is our problems. We are fed up. We need something that can solve our problems. This is what these people are saying. So what I am saying is, everybody involved in the issues of Mali, take a step back. Listen to what the people are saying. Even the Islamist issue, even the tribal issues, is because people think that the only way you could get out of economic crisis in Mali is through the state. The state is only the only source of income for most people. They see people who were hawking on the streets yesterday become members of parliament, and they're driving $100,000 cars. So everybody wants to be in government. And they think, oh, if we create an Islamic state, because I am imam or something, I'll be favored in this kind of state. So it's not ideology. At the end of ideology is economics, simple economics. There are very few resources in Mali, and there are too many people fighting for these resources. So let's all take a step back, say, what are the Malians saying? What do they want? And listen to them and figure out how to begin. It's not that you can solve all the problems in one day. It's lead to what is the path out of Malian problems. That's all. Let's set a viable path. Thinking about who becomes the president, who doesn't become the president, is useless. It's not going to change anything. It's what is the path to solving the problems that Malians are very much articulating. That's what the African Union should be talking about. They shouldn't be flying people in to tell them that you have to respect the constitution. You have to go in and say, these are the problems they've been listing for the past 3 months. What is the pathway towards a solution? And that's my view.
Thank you for that. Let me come to Alex Ekoman. The river cannot flow backwards. There has been a coup. The president has been removed. As Dr. Manu and Sally Nana have made it very clear, the problems that led to the Malians going on the streets, those problems have not been resolved. And also, one of the problems was the modus operandi of the military. Now, this particular junta that has taken power, they have a big problem in their hands because, when the singing finishes from the street, another song will begin, and that song will be, what is the military doing with the problems, and how are they showing that they themselves are not part of the problem? So, how do you see the junta movement, the government that is in place at the moment? I don't want to call it the government, but the military regime, I'll call it, that is in place at the moment. They've made it very clear that they don't want to be in power. They would hand over power to a civilian government. It's a problem, isn't it, Alex? And Malians need a solution. What do you say to them?
Right. What I'd like to say, and based on various examples across Africa, we've seen this new military regime which just took power on Tuesday. And late Tuesday, early yesterday, Wednesday, they made a statement, clear program. They want to have a government made up of civilians and military. The military will only occupy 1/3 of the government seat, and they made it clear that from now on till April 2021, they should, as a government of unity, discuss all the key issues of the country and look at how the country can get together and solve the issues. And the statement was quite clear. So they have a clear program and they want to work with the civilian and achieve this objective to hand over power to an elected president end of April 2021. And they will leave power in May 2021. So I think it's true that military cannot always be trusted, but you can see what I'm wearing here is called Faso Damfani. And we had a leader in Burkina Faso who was a young leader who came to power at the age of 32, Thomas Sankara.
Yeah.
He was in power for just 4 years. And within 4 years, when he came to power, he highlighted issues facing the country. And within 3-4 years, he made radical changes and the country moved forward. You see, so he took action with his regime and he worked with the populations, and in various fields, the living standard of the population improved. And these are facts people can check online or can see anywhere. So military can be bad, but these ones in Mali, because of the situation, something has to be done. Because the country was almost lawless. There's no lawlessness. And they have to do something. And this has happened. Obviously, people can fear that it might stay there for too long. They have a clear plan. And I think based on the plan, obviously, I listened to a speech of one of the leader of the M5RFP society organizations, and they are willing to work with the military, and they have already set up a criteria under which they will select those who will be in government for the next 8 months. So I think that we need to look at actions. We cannot speculate. We can speculate. We can have fears. We can doubt their actions, but we can only judge them based on their actions. And after just two days, what they made is they have a clear plan. And I think this coming Friday, tomorrow, Friday, they will have different meetings within Bamako. And from then, people will consult, and probably early next week, that government of unity will be in place and start tackling the issue facing the population. So I think we can give them the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
and then wait in the next few months and see how things progress.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the institutions, the local and continental institutional ECOWAS and African Union, it is, I will put that this way, because ECOWAS hasn't been efficient. In Western Africa, we have various crises. ECOWAS has never been efficient. The African Union has been quiet across the whole continent when there are issues. And when a country like Mali take action to resolve their own problems, they're running back to say, oh, we need to stick to the constitutions. It's true, we need to stick to the constitution. But what is happening is that the person elected is failing. And he has failed for the last 7 years. So should they just wait until he finishes his mandate? So these are issues people need to ask. People need security. There's no security. As we speak, Malians do not go to school. Universities, high school has been closed for months. The whole country, there's no security in the north, and there are killings of communities across the country. So something has to be done, and the military have observed and have taken actions. And the plan, I think, is quite clear. So we need to give them the benefit of the doubt and judge them based on the action.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's give them a benefit of a doubt. Of course, because in my opinion, I don't think the situation can be reversed. I don't see the military going back to their barracks and saying to the ousted president, you can go back to your seat, and let's begin from there. I don't see that's going to happen. So if that is not going to happen, let us not waste time on it. Let us waste time on what may happen in the current situation. Let me get to Salinana. You've talked about the skepticism, which makes sense because the historical facts are there to see. The Malians do not. The Malian military has never fulfilled its promises. But again, as Mr. Alex Akuman has said, let's give them a benefit of the doubt. Do you want to give them a benefit of the doubt, or do you think, of course, but what should they be doing now in order for them to, give that confidence to the people, the Malians, and take into consideration that you've got Al Qaeda and ISIS, hanging around to make sure that, the more chaotic things are, the better for them.
Right. So I don't think I think people are realistic that there wouldn't be a reversal of the coup. So the military junta will continue, and they will try to negotiate a kind of template that looks like a Sudanese template with the civil society and the people that led the protests forming a government. So that is what will happen. But in terms of resolving the issues, it will be very difficult. For example, the Tuaregs, I mean, there have had 7 rebellions in the last many years. And I don't think that it's very easy to resolve the Tuareg problem. You have mentioned the Islamic extremists. There are at least 5 different or 7 different groups that are operating within Mali. And then you've got the central Mali issue between the headers and the Dogons, that is the hunters,
and the pills,
which has now spread into Burkina Faso and neighboring countries. So all these issues that are facing the military and the new military junta are complex issues. I think the major problem is the economy. Mali relies largely on international aid. Basically, the Malian government functions, mostly Mali functions on international aid. And it is clear that there will be a lot of hurdles for the military junta to get to get international aid within these kind of circumstances. So I think that there is no reversal, so they will continue. There will be a template that looks like the one in Sudan, and the military will try to resolve the issues within the 1 year and sort of conduct elections. But again, I don't really think that anybody, no matter how efficient, can resolve these issues, because there are issues that are quite deep and complex. They are deep, they are wide, and they are also, most of them are regional issues now. They're not actually just, for example, when following various Tuareg rebellions, a lot of them went into exile into neighboring countries, into Niger, into Mauritania, into Libya. And they have since come back, and they're between those borders and fighting. It's unlikely that any government, no matter how efficient, even a military government, can kind of like resolve these issues quickly. So the way forward, I think, would be to limit the damage. So the has taken over is for the M5 movement to kind of look at the best possible outcome of this situation. IBK has been removed, so now they need very sort of competent people to be selected for the rules that they're going to select, not based on patronage or the usual consensus system that is in Mali that leads to all kind of rewards for people that are not supposed to have them. So I think the issue of the kind of people to be selected cannot be dismissed, because you are handling very complex issues, multiple crises, and they're not going to wait just because there's a new government. So the issue of the people selected is very important. The issue of resources, like where do they get the resources to kind of solve the immediate problems of Malians. 40% of Malians are extremely poor, and so therefore, I mean, they need resources in order to for people to survive on daily basis. So there is an issue of resources, there's issue of competence. I also think that the Tuaregs will exploit this kind of situation, because we saw that in 2012 when the military junta took over. That wasn't the situation in northern Mali, because all these groups are opportunistic in a way. They are seeing, if they see a gap, then they'll try to exploit that gap. So are the people fighting in the middle, in the central of Mali, and also various people that have been have grievances from the 1968 coup, from the 1991 coup, from the 2012 coup, and there are a lot of blocks that have grievances, political bloc. Oh, so all these, I think they have their work cut out. There is no reverse. I agree with you. The way forward is is quite complex and difficult. But I'm afraid, looking at what has happened across Africa so far, I wouldn't sort of like be very optimistic on what will happen.
Let me get to Dr. Manuli Kuze. Nana Sadu has simply described the situation as some kind of an elephant, and he thinks that the Malian military doesn't have the size of the throat to swallow it. It's not a problem that it's within Mali's capabilities alone, let alone the military junta. It's a regional issue, as he says. You have to take into consideration the spread of the Islamics across the region. You have to take into consideration the position of the international community. They are seeming to talk about sanctions already, and adding onto the existing economic problems that Mali has. Now you've got a junta that has taken power, and people are expecting, well, I think so, people are expecting some kind of a solution from them. Should the ECOWAS be calling for a reversal, or should the ECOWAS be saying, let's move forward, let's help the junta, let's help whoever is going to be in power, so we can have some kind of a peaceful transition? Is that a language that you think the junta should be hearing, or should they just hand over power back and run away? I mean, what do you think, Dr. Manuli Kuze?
So what I would kind of point out is the point is we need to be talking about people as if they know what they're doing. We cannot assume that people don't know what they're doing. It's very important to know that the Malian people are not naive.
Yeah.
Know their problems. They know how difficult it is to solve those problems. So we are not the ones to tell them how difficult it is. They know that. They live in Mali. They see these things every single day. What people are saying is not a magic bullet. We can't be analyzing these things as if Malians think that the sky is going to open tomorrow and their problems will disappear. No, they know that it's difficult. What people want to see in Mali is a path towards genuine resolution of their problems. That's why they massively voted for Boubacar Keïta in 2013, is because they thought that was a path towards their problem. And they came out earlier this year to protest because they also recognized that Boubacar Keïta has failed, right? So we shouldn't be treating them as if they're kids. That's what I'm trying to say to the African Union and everybody else that is willing to listen, is that Malians have problems. Don't come and preach the constitution to them. They know what a constitution is in practice, not in theory. They know what democracy is in practice. They've tried it for 30 years. It doesn't work for them. They want something different. Listen to them, give them a path towards the solution of their problems. And we could say these things about coup d'etat. You have to remember that Mali is one of the earliest African countries to turn into multi-party democracy, in quotes, in the early 90s. And it was a coup d'etat led by this Amadou Toumani Touré that transformed Mali into a democracy. So let's not be confused. They took over power. Toumani Touré took over power and turned it into a democracy that lasted till 2012. So it's possible to do things with a coup d'etat. It is possible, like Toumani Touré demonstrated in 1991. But you have to deal with it the proper way. No one wants a military coup to stay too long in Mali. But the way you handle it and handle it now is what is key. Now, what has ECOWAS done? ECOWAS has frozen financial transactions, closed the borders, and they're calling for international sanctions. They're calling for a reversal. Yes, they're calling for those things. But how is this going to change the Malian solution? If you then force Keita on the Malian people at this particular point, how does it solve the issues that took the Malians to the streets? Now, who is going to benefit with the borders of Mali that are ECOWAS borders are all in the south, Burkina Faso, the other countries down in the south, but the biggest borders of Mali are with Mauritania and Algeria, who are not members of ECOWAS. And this is where all the smuggling, all the trafficking, all the Islamism is happening. So when you close down the borders to the military down south, you open it up to the armed groups in the north. And business for them will be booming right now because they will be supplying things that people need through trafficking and smuggling up in the north. So we need to understand these issues so we can take the proper solutions. That's what I'm saying, that everyone take a step back, keep up all your analysis about all these things that coup this, coup that. Just listen to the people. Then with an open mind, think about the proper solutions. Then if they thought properly, they will not be closing borders, they will not be closing financial transactions, they will not be doing the things that worsen the economic situation and drive people even more angry. I spoke to somebody in Bamako, and what did he tell me? He said, okay, they're telling us not to listen to Islamists, they're telling us not to do this, but what will the Islamists do? They will tell us to pray 5 days, 5 times a day. They will tell us to dress in a particular way, but they will not collect bribes from us. They will not be buying yachts and airplanes while we are hungry. So people know their reality and they're making a choice and they're speaking out, and the powers that be must listen to the people.
Yeah. Alex, Dr. Martin Kuze makes it very clear that, let's look at what Malians want. Let's look at the solutions which are very practical, because right now, there's a lot of talking and there's very little listening. The situation is at the moment. There is a new coalition, the new military junta that is in power. They've made it very clear that they want to move the country towards a democratic process. Again, as you've all agreed, let us assume that they know what they're doing. And, if we assume they know what they're doing, they need support. Now, specifically, they've called for the diaspora, and they've called for honest Malians. They've said to them, we want you to come back. We want you to come and contribute towards nation building. Do you see this as an important step? Because, the African diaspora seems to be a very powerful resource. Should the Malians diaspora be going back to Mali now?
Right. Okay. In terms of returning, but most of us, African in Europe and in America or in the West, we dream of going back home. And I think wherever we are contribute in one way or another. And when you have a government or future government who is ready to welcome the diaspora, I think the diaspora will respond positively, because as we've just been through, we know the issues, and they know that the action taken by the military is for the salvation of the country, basically. And in the next few days, probably by end of next week, the unity government will be in place. So they will have a clear plan. So everyone willing to contribute, like diaspora, can look at what they can do for their own country. And I think things will improve because they know where they are, they know their issues, and they will get the best brain of Mali. And with the willingness of everybody, they can then start to tackle the issues. What we are hearing from ECOWAS and the African Union, I think is the same thing which happened whenever there is a coup. The first day, everybody condemned. But a couple of days later on, you will see that diplomacy take its course. And Malian will be talking to these different organizations. And the language we are hearing today, I'm sure will not be the same once the government is in place and taking action to improve the living conditions of the Malian. So I'm positive that we are 60 years after independence. Our, especially French-speaking countries, we are not independent because we are still in a certain bondage with the former colonial power. And when people talk about democracy, even if you take in Europe, if you take Spain, democracy is different from democracy in Italy, it's different from France, different from Germany, different from the UK. So each people, each country has to look at the best option for itself, and then create its own institutions, and people can get on with it. So when people jump and say, oh, institution, constitutions, democracy, there's no one way fitting everything. No.
Yeah.
So people, I'm definitely optimistic that Malian will get together and work together to improve the living condition of the country. And I think everybody supporting them should have this view, because the military have made clear, they have a clear plan, they have a program. I listened to one of the leader of the movement, M5 movement. They had a meeting this morning. He came out with a statement, and they are willing to work with the junta. So they will have another meeting tomorrow, Friday, and by mid next week, this government of transition will be in place, and there will be judgments on what they'll be doing on the ground. Yeah. So it might be frightening or it might be worrying. It's true, but let's look at what they are willing to do practically on the ground, and based on that, after a week, after 2 weeks, I think views will be changing, and people who are talking about cutting with Mali will probably reconsider the position based on what is happening on the ground. And I think we'll get back to normal.
Okay. Yeah. Let's. Yeah, Mr. Alex, let me hold you there. You know, we have one minute each to round up. Now, let me talk to Salinana. You know, the situation as it is, the junta has a huge tax in his hands. Everybody thinks they're going to fail. You know, we want them to succeed in making sure that there is a smooth transition. Now, if there is a smooth transition, and then you have a situation whereby a civil government takes over from the military junta and begins to run the country smoothly, do you see neighboring countries getting worried that this is now going to be the new norm, whereby the military can step in and take power and then succeed, to pass on the leadership to a civilian government. Is this one of the things that you see ECOWAS and African Union, because of course, they are president, is this their concern?
Yes, definitely. This is a concern for the African Union, ECOWAS, and other bodies about removing people unconstitutionally. Is a concern, but it's also a concern for various dictators across Africa. They'll be looking at this and thinking what will happen to them. Also, people are aware that is, 10 steps forward, 20 steps backward, because you can quote various people from Kuma to other people. There have been achievements, but those achievements quickly get reversed quite quickly, whether it's with Sankara or whether it's with Nkrumah. Dictators come and reverse most of what they've achieved, and it will take another. For example, when Musa Traore took over from Modibo Keita, it took 2 decades, to remove him with another coup. So I think that various organizations and various people, it depends on where you stand. So if you are somebody within an opposition movement trying to remove your president, like in the case of Cameroon, you look at inspiration. You look at this as an inspiration that you wish that this happens to your country. Whereas if you are on the other side, you also wish that this shouldn't be copied by other countries. So it's a question of where you stand, which side you're on. So I think that as far as I'm concerned, it's not a question of whether we wish them. Everybody wish them well. Everybody wish Malians well, just as we did in 1991, just as we did in 2002. So I think if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. So wishes are there. And also the diaspora, contribution of the diaspora has also been something that has been studied widely. And Mali depends, like many countries, on remittances. So some of the diaspora will contribute definitely. But the way I look at it is I wouldn't be too optimistic. One, on the timeline. Yeah. So, for example, to say that in a few days everything will be sorted and there we go, because the opposition isn't homogeneous. They were homogeneous in protesting against IBK. The objective was to remove IBK. They do have other demands. IBK is out now. So they're not actually one homogeneous movement. It's a movement, and different people, there are different interests and so on. So all that will have to play out. So I think that the way I look at it is, we've been here before. I'm not saying that it will be a failure. I'm not saying that it will be reversed. What I'm saying is that, like in Zimbabwe or like in Burkina or Egypt or Sudan, I have to remain skeptical in my analysis. That is the way I look at it. It's not that I don't wish Malians. I have Malians friends, as you know, and I talk to them about these things all the time. I wish everybody well, and I wish that there wasn't even the Tuareg rebellion, which I regret very much every time I talk to people. But these issues are there, and they're very, very stubborn.
Thank you, Abzina. Let me get to Dr. Lekuze. What do you think? Do you think the ECOWAS is worried about its own representative in terms of its own president rather than Malians? And shouldn't we be more concerned about Malians?
Yeah, I think everyone is kind of looking after themselves, really, in terms of ECOWAS and general African politics. People are thinking more about what may happen to them, or what kind of a precedence this may lead to. So, but the question is, who should be scared? I'm not going to answer this question, but who really should be scared of this precedence? Think about this. who should be scared? Who really should be scared of this kind of precedents?
Yeah, that's a very good way of concluding it. Alex Akuman, who do you think should be scared?
Let me just quickly add something before we move on. Is who should really be scared? Then the next point I would like to make is that, anyway, I'll leave it for another time, yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alex, do you think the ECOWAS should be scared of a successful coup in Mali, one that leads to a transition, which then makes a precedent, as the others are saying?
I think we need to trust the Malian as a whole, including the military and the civilians. And as it's been demonstrated, this has happened previously, the last one being 2012. And after the 2012 coup, they hand over power to an elected president based on the constitution. It's just because that president, Ibeka, from 2013 till 2020, hasn't delivered. So the military did what they need to do, but the civilian in power, like Ibeka, couldn't deliver. So we need to be, obviously, we can't be overjoyed or over optimistic, but it's an issue and action needs to be taken. The military have done what everybody was requiring to do to be done, and they have the plan. And if the plan is implemented and everyone play his part, I think that for the benefit of our own country, the Malian will be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Alex. I know that you're having a small technical issue there, but I got your point. If the military has a plan, then it should be successful. I really appreciate your thoughts on this, gentlemen. It is very clear that if Africa wants to copy democracy, then we've got to copy democracy in the right way. If leaders are elected through a democratic process by majority of the people, they give them the constitution to safeguard the constitution. When the people come and say your time is over, that you no longer represent the universal suffrage of the people, then I also think that it is right for these presidents that are giving the universal suffrage of the people to then step aside. This is the principle of democracy. If you want to run a democratic system, you must be able to accept when that democratic system says your time is up. Now, when this doesn't happen, you give room for undemocratic means, because you've been undemocratic in the sense that you've gone against the constitution by not listening to the will of the people. So I believe that in as much as we don't promote a coup in Africa, we don't promote a coup in any other country, I think it's very important that the voice of the people is not oppressed, that the will of the people is not suppressed by strong men, it's not suppressed by strong governments, so that Africa can continue to develop, Africa can continue to be the continent that it is. So we call on on all the international organizations, the African Union, ECOWAS, the United Nations, we call on the European Union, we call on the French government, we call on the United States, the United Kingdom, and all the other powers, to support a transition period that will allow Malians, that will listen to the cry of the Malians, because it's all about Malians. It's not about the military. It's not about the president. It is all about, the safeguard of the Malians. So let us support the Malians. Let us wish. Let us hope. Let us assist, the current, whether it's a junta or it's a military or whoever is in charge, to make sure that the universal suffrage of Malians is heard. You've heard from the experts, giving you their opinions. They've made it very clear what they think about this. And I really appreciate your efforts, Dr. Manilu Kunze, for taking your time. Your expert opinion is well respected. Mr. Alex Akuman, very great initiative. And, you guys are superb. Mr. Salinana, I thank you very much again for always honoring this program. But your insights are phenomenal. So I thank you, gentlemen.